Once upon a time, in a small village nestled deep within a lush valley, there lived an old monk named Ido. He was known throughout the land for his wisdom and the serenity that seemed to radiate from him. People would travel from far and wide, seeking his guidance on matters of the heart, mind, and soul. One day, a curious and talkative young man named Kale arrived in the village. He had heard tales of the wise monk and was determined to learn from him. With an eagerness that was hard to contain, Kale approached Ido's humble abode. "Master Ido," Kale greeted with a grand gesture, "I have journeyed many miles to seek your wisdom. I have countless questions about life, the world, and the secrets of the universe." Ido smiled gently and gestured for Kale to sit. "Welcome, young one. I am here to listen. Ask your questions, and I shall do my best to answer them." And so Kale began his barrage of questions. He asked about the nature of happiness, the meaning of suffering, the purpose of existence, and countless other inquiries that had swirled in his mind for years. He spoke fervently, his words flowing like a river in flood. Yet, through it all, Ido remained silent, listening intently, his eyes reflecting the depth of the young man's curiosity. After hours of speaking, Kale finally paused, out of breath and with a sense of accomplishment. Ido still did not speak. Instead, he rose gracefully and walked to a nearby garden. Kale followed, perplexed by Ido's lack of verbal response. In the garden, Ido knelt beside a patch of flowers, his hands moving with a deliberate grace as he tended to the plants. As Kale watched, he began to feel a strange calmness settle over him. The more Ido worked, the more Kale felt a quiet stillness seep into his being. The chattering of his mind started to fade, replaced by a sense of connection to the world around him. Hours turned into days, and Kale found himself joining Ido in his daily routines, gardening, meditating, and sharing silent meals. During this time, Ido never answered Kale's questions directly. Instead, he taught through actions, through the power of silence. Over time, Kale's obsession with seeking answers began to wane. He discovered that the answers were not always in words, but in the spaces between them, in the quiet moments of reflection. He learned that true wisdom was not just about amassing knowledge, but about cultivating inner peace and understanding. One day, as Kyle sat beside Ido in the garden, he looked up at the older monk with gratitude in his eyes. "Master Ido," he said softly, "I came here seeking answers, but I found something far more valuable. Your silence has taught me the power of stillness, of listening, and of being present in each moment." Ido smiled and nodded. He placed a hand on Kyle's shoulder, a gesture that spoke volumes without uttering a single word. From that day on, Kale embraced the teachings of Ido. He returned to the world with a new perspective, sharing the wisdom he had gained from the power of silence. And just as Ido had done, he guided others not with a constant stream of words, but with the deep well of understanding that can only be found in the quiet spaces of the heart and mind.